The opinions and views expressed on this program do not reflect those of the management or staff of Community Media of Staten Island. The Get Together is brought to you in cooperation with the Older Adult Center Networks and the Center for Lifelong Development, with funding provided by the New York City Department of Aging, and produced through the facilities of Community Media of Staten Island.
Hi folks, and welcome back to the Get Together. We're back here again this afternoon with a couple of my friends. I've got Mona and Carrie and Joe.
Hi.
And we came to a recent conclusion that our topic for today is going to be things that have occurred to us during our lifetime that had some significant impact. Immediate impact could have been later on, could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be a person, or some specific incident that years later, somehow we still remember. And before we sat down, Carrie told us that he wanted to go first. So, Carrie, it's all yours.
Well, this isn't an incident that happened a long time ago. It happened last summer, at the end of the summer. I was eating my chicken dinner, okay, and all of a sudden I felt like I had a bone stuck in my throat. So I tried throwing up, and whatever, and I put my hand down, and finally I was able to breathe.
By the way, this is a family show, so
I
you
know.
got to watch what how you describe things.
I called 911, and I live right near the fire department, so they came, all right, and they get me in, and they take my blood pressure, and they go, your blood pressure is high. It's 220 over 110. Well, of course it's 220 over 110. I have something. Do you want to go to the do you want to go? Are you sure you want to go to the hospital? I said, yeah, I want to go to the hospital. I go to the hospital, all right, and I wait there, and it's really hurting and whatever, but I'm breathing, okay, and so they go finally take me in for an X-ray, all right, and they take me, and then the X-ray technician says, I want to show you something, and I go over there, and she goes, you see that? Yeah, I go, yeah. She goes, that's no chicken bone. So then I go sit outside, and all of a sudden I realized my two-tooth bridge that I had up here on my, I had swallowed it.
Wait, the whole bridge?
It's a two-tooth.
Oh,
it's like a partial.
Wow.
A partial two-tooth bridge, and I swallowed it. Okay, it has spokes on it and things like
Did
that.
you have a warranty on that bridge? No.
No, there was no one. There was no toll either. Anyway, so it turns out that they're trying to decide whether they want to either try to do it in the emergency room to take it out, or they want to do it in the operating room. They said, "We'll try it in the emergency room." All right. And they give me ketamine, okay, I believe that's what it's called. It's a horse tranquilizer, okay? Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, and my son was there by that time, and he's a vascular surgeon, so they let him stay to watch, okay? They gave me this, and it was like I had never been on an LSD trip before in my life, all right, okay? I've done other things, but but not an LSD trip, all right? And and they wound up, they had to hold me down, my son was telling me, they finally got it out. But it was like, I thought there was a possibility that I could have died. I mean, because I couldn't, but thank God I was able to breathe, and God, it was just it was a life-changing experience as I started to think about things.
Wow. I mean, how was it a life-changing experience? You stopped eating chicken, or?
No, I didn't.
That's all right. That's okay. Maybe we'll move on. Because
I think you should. Yeah.
I was thinking about lunch until you actually came up with that story.
Speaking of chickens, I have a story.
Okay, Mona.
All right. I was young and stupid, and this boy asked me, did I want to go out. Now, we were in the Catskill Mountains where I spent the summer. And I said, sure, because I was young and stupid. And I get in the car and he meets his friends and I'm thinking, oh, we're double dating or triple dating. No, what it was they had arranged a chicken race. If you don't know what a chicken race is, we were in the mountains and they drive to the edge of the mountain to see who's got the nerve to stop last before they fall off. Needless to say, I had never gone in a car with anybody I didn't know again. Except one time in an extreme emergency, I did hitchhike. In those days, you could hitchhike. Many people did it, especially in the mountains, and in those days we didn't all have cars. So I hitchhiked, but it wasn't a small town. Everybody knew everybody, so it was a little less stupid.
So they actually raced the cars to the edge of the...
I don't know exactly how the race went because I was under the dashboard. But
Oh, wait, but you were in the car that they raced.
Oh, God.
he drove.
But your eyes were closed, right?
I dashed onto
It's
the...
kind of dark under the dashboard
Yeah, right.
anyway.
Yeah, but I heard the screech. I didn't pray. It all happened too quickly to pray. But I heard everybody yelling, and I don't even know if he won. Because the last one to stop, if they didn't fall off the mountain, was the winner.
Oh, God.
I was the winner. I survived.
Did you notice if there were any cars, you know, in,
Yeah, they
in the
look-
valley that...
Oh,
below
where
or-
they fell
Yeah,
over?
no?
I didn't look. No. I got out of there as fast as I possibly could. Needless to say, I never went out with that boy again.
Oh, shit.
Interesting. Okay. Joe.
So on the line of being scared, the bejesus out of you. I'm in the Army and I'm training to fire mortars, okay? And it's a three-man team. You got a gunner, assistant gunner, and an ammo bearer. And it's all live fire. All those rounds are live. And everybody gets a chance to be the gunner, the assistant gunner, and the ammo bearer. And there was at least 15 guns, and they're all in order. And it's in a bunker. Everyone has a little bunker. And then everybody gets a fire mission, and then you hang the round goes down, you fire, then the second, third, fourth, it keeps going. So one of the exercises entails what happens if you hang the round, and the round goes down, and you hear click, it misfires. So what you're supposed to do is the gunner takes the barrel off, the assistant gunner raises the barrel up, and the ammo bearer is supposed to put his hands and catch the round and then take it on the side. That's the training. That's what you're supposed to do.
I'm glad I didn't go
So-
into the Army.
So the drill sergeant calls a break, and all us guys go out, who was smoking, whatever, and now we come back, and now there's a fire mission. And so the first gunner shoots his round, hangs it, and it goes off. I was in the second one. Hangs it, it went off. Now the third one, when he hangs the round and it goes down, it went click. I got so scared that I jumped on the side of the bunker. I mean, these are live rounds. I don't know what's going on. The three guys that were in that particular gun, they were gone. They all ran away.
They left.
They didn't know what the hell was there. I mean, I would have ran away too. So drill sergeant calls them back, and they have to do exactly what we were taught. Now this poor guy, I mean, everybody's 19 years old. The ammo bearer, he had to unhook it. He raised the gun up, and this poor guy, he had his hands. He did what he was supposed to do, but if his pants must have been, I mean, I would have. So the round comes out, right, followed by a large rock. The drill sergeant, when we were on break, he throws a large rock down the barrel. It's an exercise. So the round actually never hit the firing pin.
Oh.
It hit the rock. But no one knew that. But
Yeah.
it was part of the exercise. Now I always remembered that. It still makes me feel it was okay at the end. Everybody was laughing and fooling around, but not when it was happening. And the only people who knew it was fake were the drill sergeants on the range. Everybody else thought it was real. What do we do? And that poor guy had to put his hands under the under the barrel.
But tell me something. When you're in basic training, right?
That was AIT, Advanced Infantry Training.
Right, advanced training. You knew that those were live rounds that, that were going off.
Yes, it's okay as long as you do everything right. But that was a misfire, supposedly a misfire. And who's going to want to put their hands? Who wants to be there?
Right.
I mean, you know.
I would have refused to do it.
That would have been the wrong thing to do.
I know.
That would have been the wrong thing to do.
Do
But
they give you earphones?
now they do. Back then, they never did.
Yeah.
That's why some old veterans have hearing problems. It made a lot. Every time you fired, even on the rifle range, bam, 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 bam. Now, if the young people who go on a range, they wear not earplugs or a whole headset to protect their
Right,
hearing.
right.
Because the Army had to pay for a lot of people who lost their hearing because of that fact on a training mission. But I'll never forget that day as long as I live.
No, you know, I asked you about live rounds because when I was in basic training, there were two things, two incidents. One is, you know, when you had to crawl under the wire, and they were
Infiltration course.
and they had machine gun fire
Firing over your head,
with like every sixth round was a tracer, and
Right.
they told you not to pick up your head. I often wondered if those were live rounds.
Well,
Not
they
that it
were.
made any difference. Nobody was going to pick up their head.
No,
but
they were live.
Yeah.
The only thing is, it was a lot higher than 3 or 4 feet. It was probably more than 6 feet. You would really
But they
have
were
to
live
stand.
rounds,
Oh, they were live. Didn't you do it at night?
yeah, we did it. Yeah, we did it at night.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it at night. They were coming over the. You can actually see as you're looking up, crawling, bam, 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 hit, and you can hear it hitting the sandbags in the back. That's what I remember.
Yeah. No, I kind of remember it, but like I said, I often wondered if they were live rounds or not. Not that anybody was going to test, you know, the question,
It,
right? Nobody was.
It was live.
I mean,
rounds,
we were all dumb back then, but nobody was that dumb that they were going to raise
But
their
it
head.
was live, but it was really, really high. It was like 6 to 8 feet above your head.
All right. So we've heard some interesting stories. I had a story, but you know what? We're going to stop for a break. And after the break, about a minute or two, we'll come back and we'll continue the conversation, which is kind of lighthearted and but significant because these are things that we remember that happened to us. So we'll be back in about a minute.
Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. We'd never make a separate dinner. And never do that. We'd never let them sleep in our room. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris. Okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Welcome back, folks. We're back to the get-together with a couple of my friends. If you notice, we have a couple of new faces. We've got Dave and Myrna, and Mona is back. And if you recall, we ended the last segment discussing certain things that happened during the course of your life. It could be a book that had an impact on you, or a movie, or an individual. And it was lighthearted, and hopefully we're going to continue on that level. So, Mona, you said you wanted to discuss something,
Yes,
so
but
let's
you're
have
looking
it.
at the wrong person.
I'm
Myrna.
sorry, Myrna. It's the M's. It's the M's are going to kill me.
It's a
Myrna.
senior moment.
Myrna, yes, it's senior. It's more than senior.
I remember I was 19. I had my driver's license. And every time I went out to go somewhere, my mother would send my 16-year-old brother with me for safety. I don't know what he would have done. And I drove to Green Acres Shopping Mall. And this is going back to the middle 60s. And it was an open mall at the time. And there was angle parking. And I get there and I'm going, oh my God, I don't know how to park the car. You had to pull in. And I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to park? And I drove around and there was an open lot with gravel. And I parked it there. And I said, well, I'm doing the chicken way of parking. I parked in the chicken lot. And then I remember a time when I was driving, this all within the first 6 months of getting my license. And I'm trying to pull into park. And I'm going, oh dear God, please give me 2 spots so I can get into one. But I'm proud to say that I've driven all over since then. I go by myself. I've done major long distance traveling by myself. And I never had a problem about parking again.
That's because you don't park. You get somebody else to park the car.
No,
right?
I park.
Oh, okay.
I can back in, I can pull in. I have a little trouble reversing to park in, but I do it if I have to.
All right, that's good. So all the men out there who are always criticizing women that they don't know how to drive, we
Or
should
park.
stop
I'll
that.
be very happy to drive them.
All right. Mona,
Yes, I have car stories. You might run away from me in a parking lot. No, I'm
by the way, you know, the
joking.
last story was also a car
car
story,
story.
right? Maybe you should stay away from
Cars?
Cars.
No, because I also do a lot of traveling. Let me tell you my stories because there's a lesson. I'll tell you the answer to the question why you should pay attention to what happens in your past. Because the first time I was driving my children to a friend's house. It was in the evening, a sleepover. It was in Queens. I did not think a bad neighborhood. I dropped them off, and now I'm coming back. It's on a major street, Main Street. And it's by this time about 11 p.m. I'm driving and I see this group of men. I look up, I see there's a bar behind them, and I realize they're drunk. And now, as I'm approaching, they run into the road trying to stop my car. And immediately I thought to myself, there's trouble brewing here. I don't want to stop the car. Here's where the media comes in. I had seen movies, you know, chase scenes and so forth. There was a divider on my side. I went right over the divider and I was facing oncoming traffic on the other side, and I knew I couldn't stay there, and I gunned the engine and I went up on the divider. The back wheels got stuck on the divider. I gunned the engine again, the car took off, and I left those bad boys behind me.
You must have scared them sober.
One more, if I have time, a quick story.
Cars?
Yes.
Cars again, huh?
Yes,
You
yes.
and men and cars seem to be your thing. Okay, let's hear
My
this one.
nemesis. It was ice cold winter. I was on Morningstar Road in January or February, and I ventured to cross the street. I was going to karaoke, a bar, and as I'm walking, I see a car at the end of the block, and I slip on the ice and I fall right in the middle of the road. And thank God for
that's
movies and television, because you don't think my body, I didn't say, yeah, what should I do? My body automatically rolled to the curb.
Wow.
And I watched the car pass. So, no, I still drive. Don't be afraid to drive with me.
That's
I never, and I don't want to say it, but I've never had an accident. Yeah,
Wow, that's a pretty chilling story.
yeah.
Especially
Well, I have a
because it was
story
icy.
that is not so chilling, but it's something that happened to me. I must have been probably around 17 years old. I had a part-time job after high school, and I was seeing this girl, and I remember telling her that, you know what, let's meet for dinner after I get out of work. And I said, you know what, we're going to meet at Jan's. Remember Jan's? Well, this was a Jan's. I still remember to this day. This was a Jan's on 86th Street in Brooklyn. And anyway, I had gone to school that day in high school, and then afterwards I was working in a ladies' shoe store, which is another story. Anyway, so I meet this young lady who I actually still remember her name, but she'll be nameless at this point. Anyway, I go to Jan. She's sitting at a table, and I go down, and I sit down at the table with her, and the waitress or the waiter comes over, gives us the menus, and I was really hungry. It's been a long day. Probably the last time I ate was maybe if I had lunch. I know I probably had breakfast. So, we're looking at the menus, and she says, what are you the girl who was with me said, what are you gonna order? I said, I'm really hungry. I mean, I haven't eaten for hours. I said, you know what? You order whatever you want, don't worry about it. So waiter comes back, and I don't know why, but I was gonna order one of the sandwiches for whatever reason, but he turned to the girl that I was with and said, what would you like? And she said, I'll have the steak and whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, I remember looking at the menu. That was the most expensive thing on the menu. And then he turns to me and he says, and you? And I ordered a sandwich because it never occurred to me. I mean, never in my wildest dreams would I have ordered a steak. I was 17 years old. Who orders a steak when you're 17 years old? And
Did you
At an ice cream
do you know
parlor.
that I never went out with that girl again
I'm not surprised.
after that?
Did they have credit cards? Were you
Back then,
able to
credit
pay
cards?
for
No,
it?
who had credit cards
I don't think
back
they
in?
would've.
I'm trying to think. So that's like years ago. They didn't have credit cards back
What
then.
I'm impressed was that the waiter turned to her and asked what she wanted, rather than going to you and saying, what will the lady have?
Well, it's a Brooklyn restaurant. They're not going to do that. This wasn't some fancy. I mean,
No, I'm
Jan's
just
was,
saying that at the time, they didn't ask women what they wanted. They asked the men what the woman would order.
Yeah, but anyway, so I was just struck by the fact that, I mean, even to this day, the fact that if you're going out with somebody, they give you a menu and somebody else is paying, you wouldn't think of ordering the most expensive thing
Never.
on the menu, right?
Especially,
I mean, you wouldn't order the least expensive thing, but
especially at an ice cream place.
Yeah.
especially in a place like
would order the
Jan's. And I
biggest-
don't know, and by the way, I don't know how good the steaks were.
Probably terrible.
In
It's the ice
Jan's.
cream that counts.
But
Yeah,
it was.
yeah, I
But anyway,
learned
so
that.
that story about going out with Carol, whose
Oh,
last
I
name
thought you
shall
weren't
remain
saying
nameless.
her
I know who she is.
You know her, huh? It's always the Carols, right? It's never the Debbies or. Anyway, so
Debbie
that's
is
mine.
the downer.
So Dave, you've been
Yes?
sitting here quietly.
Well, this is not, this is a good story. It's true, and it's a little different. I was about 10 years old, 11, 10, had a toothache like you wouldn't believe. It was horrible. It scared that, I mean, I was in pain. So my mother said, let's go to the dentist. I said, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. She says, we're going to the dentist. So we go to this dentist who was a family friend, and he said, let me take a look at it. Took a look at it. He says, we're going to have to fix that. We might have to take the tooth out. Pull the tooth.
Right.
As soon as I heard that, I said, what? My mother said, don't worry, you won't feel it. I said, no. You're not pulling my tooth. I'm not pulling my tooth. And I started to yell and scream and carry on. In fact, I took the bib off, whatever the hell they had,
Right.
threw it down on the floor, and ran out of the dentist office and ran all the way home from Port Richmond, all the way up to where I lived in West Brighton,
Really?
by myself. There was no way is that dentist is going to put, and my mother, of course, was worried. My father finds out. He says, get home. I said, well, I'm going home. Meet me at home. I met him at home. He said, what did you do? I said, I ran away. I didn't want to get my tooth pulled. Yeah? And you let your mother worry and you let me worry? I got news for you. He didn't smack me, but he was a big guy. He just took me, almost threw me against the wall. I'm hurting the mic. I'm sorry. Mr. Mike, I'm so sorry. And what had happened was, I don't know how it happened, but we went back to the dentist. He put a Novocaine in. I screamed and yelled because I was a baby. I wasn't a mature
They gave
person.
you Novocaine back then?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You didn't have to bite the bullet.
to pull the tooth,
I had ether. I
Yeah,
remember
well-
having, you know, they put a mask
Yeah.
over your
Yeah.
face.
No,
and,
not this guy.
No?
And he was going to award, he just says, you know what, before we even finish, I got prizes for you. I felt like saying, you can take those prizes and I'm not getting my tooth pulled. Meanwhile, he pulled the tooth, Novocaine. It was over, and it was just the scariest moment of my life. And the reason is, and I'm going to just take a second, the reason is I saw all of these movies, all these comedy shows where they put the tooth on the doorknob, they pull the doorknob, and they pull it out, and they do this and they do that. That's all I knew. And I wasn't the brightest star in the
Is
sky.
that what you were waiting for? Was for the rope?
I don't know what.
For
I
the
just,
dentist
but
to
I'm
put
glad
the rope?
it's over. I had the tooth pulled. My father wasn't
just-
happy with me. My mother wasn't happy with
I
me.
just want to say to you, I feel you were justified because in those days, the drills were not silent. And when
No.
you sat outside, it sounded like a construction site in there.
Right.
Very frightening.
Well,
Well, we're going to have to end it at this point. But you know what's interesting about this discussion that we had here today? That of all the topics, the two that were predominant, that led the headlines over here, had to do with teeth.
Yeah.
You and Carrie.
Yeah.
And cars, which is
Interesting.
interesting. Maybe if we take a survey,
They
you
go
know,
together.
top 50 people, and out of 50 people, the top topics could be teeth and
Or what scares
and
you the
cars.
most?
Anyway, I want to thank everybody for being here today.
Thank
I
you.
think it was a lighthearted conversation. And
I don't
for you,
think so.
and for you
I don't know
folks
about
out
that.
there, remember to get together with your friends. Until next time, have a great day.